Hello and welcome to Season of War. A bit of a different kind of a video today. I recently took part in a 3-round tournament with a bunch of my competitive teammates and was able to record all 3 of my games. Now if you watched our discussion that I posted last week, we actually went in and talked through the games and the tournament experience, all that, so you'll probably know the outcome of all these already. But my first game was against Blades of Khorne. So playing against an opponent that I've played a couple times, my buddy Mitch, great guy, always brings different and unique fun lists, this time bringing a 5 Bloodthirster list, 2 of Insensate Rage, 1 Unfettered Fury, 1 Wrath of Khorne Bloodthirster, and then Starbrand, and then 3 units of 5 Fleshhounds. The mission we were playing was Better Part of Valor. The big thing with this one is there's 6 objectives, 3 on each player side, and they can only be controlled by battle line. And you only score points on the turn that you burn them. So coming into this mission, I knew Mitch was going to have a tough time playing the objective game. I'm running MSU Eels, pretty standard build, no Volturnos though, and doing my stock standard Achillean Cane with Cloud of Midnight. Anyways, after deployment, Mitch gave me first turn, and he had deployed all his Bloodthirsters in the center, obviously to consolidate his power, and it's very dangerous for me to go into them, because when one of them attacks, they all get to attack. So, seeing his deployment, I deployed really defensively. You can see along the center, everything was held back, so I wasn't in any threat ranges of any of his charges. There was no chance of him taking first and getting to do anything, really significant. My last deployments were actually a unit of Morsar on either side of the board, that I was assuming he was going to give me first. I just planned to throw them up along the sides of the board to take out his Fleshhounds and just reduce his scoring. Obviously, the missions in this GHB are so impactful, especially ones like this with Battle Line, and Mitch's list really didn't kind of take this mission into account, so he was going to be in a tough spot. Left side, I also brought down my Soul Strider with a unit of 3 Eels on the left, and then in behind in the corner that's just off the screen, there's a unit of 6 Morsar Guard also. It just helped me with that charge, so those 3 Eels on both sides got into the Fleshhounds. They both did their shocks and then started chewing through the Fleshhounds. Honestly, just doing exactly what I had planned and pretty handedly taking out both those units. After one of them got to pile in, I don't think it did any significant damage, so pretty much turn 1, again, just moved out those 2 units, took his objectives, which meant I take control of 5 of the objectives on the board right now. I also threw my Achillean King center board, knowing I have the Cloud of Midnight. It's just going to act as kind of a roadblock for Mitch to get towards my objective. Anything he throws into the King, I'm going to use Cloud of Midnight and be untargetable, so it means on his turn, anything that goes into the King isn't going to get to attack, so if he wins priority, he'll be stuck in combat again next turn. Even if my King dies next turn, it prevents him getting onto my back objective, helps me mitigate the double turn. Also, a couple units of Aether Winds in this list don't really help me too much in this matchup, other than just being kind of zoning, roadblocks and speed bumps, that kind of thing. So, as expected here, Mitch is really forced to spread out and try and take a bunch of my various units with his Bloodthirsters. Obviously sending 2 off to the left to take those 2 units, 1 to the center, and then 2 to the right, one of them being Starbrand. Really, from this point on, for my turn 1, being able to take out his 2 units of Fleshhounds, Mitch was just hugely on his back foot. It was going to be a struggle for him to get back in this game. We both knew it. I knew it coming into this match, that he was probably going to give me first. I was going to have advantage. Not really too much he can do about it. Maybe deploying a little more defensively would have been helpful, but still, as soon as he commits forward, I can just, could have deep struck in behind him or whatnot. So, anyways, combats, bottom left, his Bloodthirster exploded for 4 mortal wounds to a couple units. Leave my Soul Strider on 1, taking out an Eel on the bottom. Overall, the Bloodthirsters did about average output. The one on the top left killed 2 eels, but 1 surviving means, assuming he lives through Battle Shock, which that's my banner, so he will reroll Battle Shock, I'm going to remain in control of that objective unless he wins the double turn. I did a little bit of damage back in all the combats, but really he didn't eliminate any units of eels in full. So I have a couple units with still some output left in them and a lot of usefulness later in the game, as well as, again, mitigating the double in the case that he gets the double turn. He'd be stuck in combat with everything, so he's not killing any extra units anyways. But when it comes down to it, I actually win the priority roll going into round 2 and decide to take it. I had actually forgot to do my attacks back in his phase, so I'm just doing those back now, which let me... because I just completely forgot to do my attacks in his combat phase. Nothing super significant, a couple of wounds here or there, but it just helps me slowly chip them down. But anyways, back to round 2, and I'm now in position to just kind of try and take stuff out. You see, obviously my 6 Morsar moving up, going to take out the Bloodthirster, and really try to make sure I remain in control of that back objective. With that 1 eel, I can't actually retreat out of combat in the top left with the one who has that objective, because if I do, I can't control the objective anymore, because I can't control it on a retreat move. Little ambiguous, because I already control it, whether or not I would actually lose it, or you just can't gain it on a retreat. But regardless, I want to move those 6 up and just make sure I lock that one down. I move a unit of 3 Morsar up to the center to help my Kellion King take out the Bloodthirster in the middle of the board. And then I have 2 units of defensive Ishlan off to the right near my objective. I was debating sending those ones in to start chipping down wounds, but because he's getting to activate into that one before anything else there would get to attack, I really didn't think it was worth it. So I just kind of ended up holding them back, as you see. Center of the board, those eels go in. I end up using my shocks on the left side with my unit of 6 into that Bloodthirster to try and deal a number of wounds to it, so that I can attack with my Kellion King and unit of 3 eels in the center, again, before it has a chance to attack, thinking my 6 are going to be able to survive pretty well. Obviously, killed the big Bloodthirster in the center. I believe I end up killing this one after it does, I don't know if it does any damage to me, but okay, so kills an eel, and then he didn't manage to finish off the one that was controlling it, so I'm definitely going to take that. My 5 are going in, combat there. Obviously those 5 eels, Morsar on the charge, re-rolling hits, they're doing a lot of damage, and they should pretty easily take this guy out. So end of my turn at the top of round 2, I burn both of the 2 left objectives just to start scoring points. Again, he's going to be very limited, and it just limits where he can go. So the Bloodthirster that's out of combat on the left side of the board doesn't really have anywhere he can actively go to score points or deny me from scoring points. So Mitch ends up just kind of jumping and trying to throw him into a place where he can do the most damage. Starbrand in the top right has to chase down the 2 eels that retreated from him. Again, I just threw them along his backboard side just to pull Starbrand away from the center of the board. Again, just preventing what he's going to be able to do in the case he gets a double. He can go into that unit of Morsar now, but they're not necessarily going to be getting a lot of use if he gets the double turn, where he's just going to be trying to, pretty much run to the center of the board and not be able to make any charges. So just limiting the effective use. The Bloodthirster on the bottom right ended up jumping my Morsar eels and going for my center objective, which was interesting. I think just easier to take out those 10 Namarti thralls than the 3 defensive eels. I guess it was his thinking. But unfortunately for Mitch, his rolls were pretty atrocious. Definitely on the bottom of the board against those thralls. And I don't think the other one did too much against the eels on the top left either. ended up taking out an eel from 2 of those units, so not insignificant, but again, with how much I have on the board at this point, there's so many units spread out, not too much you can do. Starbrand ended up cleaning out those 2 guys in the top, but again, he's kind of out of the game for the next little bit. And my Namarti Thralls, again, I have 9 left. Mitch only managed to take out 1. And against models that have 4 more wounds, they're doing 2 damage with 1 rend. So they took him down to half health pretty easily, which is looking bad for Mitch as he really wasn't able to kill those Thralls and deny me any points. Yeah. At this point, we're into round 3, and I win priority again. There's no real harm in me taking it. I love to play to give it away. But at this point, I'm just able to reposition, again, run away, retreat from stuff. My king comes down to help deal with the Bloodthirster. Those unit of Morsar that were in the center move up to his center objective to engage his Fleshhounds. But they're less effective this round and don't actually manage to take those guys out. But this is round 3. I'm attacking everywhere first. And able to do a good amount of work. I have 1 eel left in combat with the Bloodthirster on the top left. The reason he's in there, normally I would just retreat out to keep more guys alive, but I had chosen the secondary objective of bait, and that unit was the one that I had chosen. So to actually maximize my secondary objectives and store max points, I actually had to get him in and get him killed. So that's why that eel went into combat there again, and just pretty much to die, to make sure I get that secondary objective. Again, I clean up the Bloodthirster on my side of the board. I also threw up a unit of eels into the top right, and then I burn 3 of these objectives. This is a good example of the impact that some of these missions have. In new GHB 2020, I've been talking about a lot of how impactful they are, and you really have to tailor your list for them to be effective. Now I'm attacking first here this round, but Starbrand kills the eels that are on his back objective. Not before they manage to take out the remaining Fleshhounds, so he has no scoring at all. This is the bottom of round 3. No way he can come back in this game. And we call it there, and it's a major win for the Idoneth. Tough game for Mitch's list scoring-wise, and also because I'm running dhom-hain, I'm rerolling all my wounds against monsters, so that's just extra bad for him. But anyways, it set me up max point win going into round 2. Hope you enjoyed the video. Obviously a bit of a different style format. Obviously I'm just testing things out right now as I try and figure out the best way to do tournament coverage from my games at different events. Obviously I'm doing the best I can in terms of video quality, so not the best, but hopefully it gives a good picture of what happened in the game and you can follow along decently well. But that's it for round 1. Going into next round, I'm facing off against Daughters of Cain in round 2 on Total Conquest, so keep an eye out for that video. Thanks!